You give, and they stay. That was always the unspoken rule, even if no one ever said it out loud. You were the one who showed up, who listened past midnight, who remembered the birthday, carried the hard conversation, held the room together when it began to come apart. And it worked. For years, it worked. But there's a thought that comes late at night when the phone has gone quiet and you're the one who always texts first. A small, unbearable question you've never quite let yourself finish. If you stopped giving, would any of them still be here? You didn't decide to become this. Not really. No one sits a child down and teaches them to trade their needs for other people's comfort. It isn't taught. It's absorbed, the way a room's temperature is absorbed, long before you have words for any of it. By the time you were old enough to notice you were doing it, it had already stopped feeling like a choice and started feeling like your nature. That's the quiet trap of it. The things we learn earliest are the things we're least able to see because we mistake them for the shape of the world itself. Somewhere very early, you learn something about how the world works. You learned that when you were useful, people stayed close. And when you needed something, when you were the one asking, the room got a little colder, a little quieter. Nobody explained this to you. No one had to. You simply watched what happened when you gave and what happened when you asked, and you drew the only conclusion a child can draw. You became the one who gives, and you got good at it. Frighteningly good. You learned to read a room before you'd fully entered it, to feel the tension in someone's shoulders, the thing they weren't saying, the help they needed before they knew they needed it. You became the one who noticed, the one who stepped in. You could sense the shape of another person's need the way some people can sense rain coming, and you moved toward it automatically, without deciding to, because moving toward it was the only thing that had ever felt safe. It was never a lie. That's the part people miss. The kindness was real. The listening was real. You weren't performing warmth you didn't feel. You felt all of it. But underneath the feeling, a quieter engine was running. It had only one instruction: stay useful, stay needed. Because being needed felt like the closest thing to being safe. And somewhere in there, the words began to blur into each other. Needed, safe, loved, until you could no longer feel the seams between them. You lived inside that blur, and you called it your personality. And for a long time, it held. You built a whole life on it. Friendships, a marriage maybe, a reputation, the person everyone calls when things fall apart. People love you, or they say they do, and you have no reason not to believe them. The evidence is everywhere. The messages, the invitations, the way people light up when you walk in. Who could look at all that and doubt they were loved? You could, quietly, at the edges of certain nights, because there's a difference between being surrounded and being met, and you know it in your body even when you can't say it. You can be in a room full of people who are glad you're there, glad, specifically, for what you bring, the ease you create, the weight you lift, and still you feel a strange cold at the center of it. The cold of suspecting that if you brought nothing, the gladness would thin. You've never tested it. You've built your whole life so you'd never have to test it. But the suspicion doesn't need a test. It just sits there, patient underneath the warmth. Because you became so good at being the one who gives that you stopped being able to tell where the giving ended and you began. And a person who can't find that line can't answer the one question that matters. There's nothing here to fix. There's only something to look at, honestly. Carl Jung had a word for the face we show the world. He called it the persona, the mask. Not mask in the sense of a lie, but in the older sense, the sense the word carried when actors wore carved faces on a stage to be seen from the back of the theater. A persona is the version of yourself you assemble so you can move through the world and be received by it. According to Jung, building one is not a flaw. It's a necessary part of moving through the world. Everyone has one. You need one. The teacher has a teacher's face. The doctor has a doctor's calm. Without a persona, you would arrive in every room raw and unshaped, unbearable to yourself and to everyone else. So the persona is not the problem. Let's be clear about that, because this is where most people go wrong. They decide the mask is the enemy, that underneath it there's a truer, freer self just waiting to be released. And if they could only tear the thing off, they'd finally be real. That isn't what Jung meant. The mask is how you meet the world. The trouble is quieter and stranger and much harder to see from the inside. The trouble begins when the mask stops being something you wear and becomes something you are. When you've held it so long, so completely, that you can no longer find the face underneath it. Jung described this as an identification with the persona. When the ego becomes so closely identified with the social role that the role is mistaken for the whole person. The mask doesn't come off at the end of the day. It comes home with you. It sits down at your own table. It's there when you're alone, when there's no one to perform for. And still you find yourself being useful, being easy, being good, tidying your own feelings away before they can inconvenience a room that's empty. You become so fluent in the role that you speak it even when no one's listening. And there's a reason yours grew so heavy. In another room of psychology, the humanist Carl Rogers noticed something about how children learn what they're worth. He called them conditions of worth, the quiet rules a child absorbs about what they have to be in order to be loved. Not love for existing, love for meeting the condition. A child works out without anyone ever saying it, that approval arrives when they're good, when they're easy, when they're helpful, and withdraws when they're difficult, when they're needy, when they take up too much room. No one has to be cruel for this to happen. It can happen in a house full of love, with parents who are tired or distracted, or carrying their own unfinished childhoods. The child just notices the pattern. Warmth comes when I give. Warmth cools when I need. And so the child builds themselves around the condition. If I am to be of value, I must be useful. You can almost find the moment if you look. Some ordinary afternoon when you were small and you brought your trouble to someone, your fear, your mess, your need, and you felt them tighten, just slightly. Maybe they sighed, maybe they got busy, maybe they loved you the whole time and simply had nothing left that day. It doesn't matter. What matters is what you learned in that half second, that your need made the warmth recede, and then, another afternoon, you did something helpful. You were quiet, you were good, you carried something heavy for them, and the warmth came back. A child is a scientist running one experiment over and over, and you ran this one until the result was certain. Give, and they come close. Need, and they step back. You didn't decide to build your life on that finding. You just couldn't unlearn it. Think about what that does to a person over 20 years, 30, 40. The condition doesn't announce itself. It just quietly runs underneath every choice. Who you befriend, who you marry, what you'll tolerate, how much of yourself you'll set down and call it generosity. You don't experience it as a wound. You experience it as who you are, as virtue, even. You are the giving one, the reliable one, the strong one, and it feels like character because it never once occurred to you that it could be something else. Rogers had a small, devastating way of drawing it out. Finish this sentence, he'd say. If I am to be of value, I must. And then listen to what comes. For some people, it's win. For some, it's never complain. For you, the word arrives before the sentence is even finished. Be useful. It's so familiar you can't hear how strange it is that value ever came with a condition at all. Put those two ideas together, and you can begin to imagine a life where love and usefulness have grown into the same thing, so completely braided that you can no longer feel where one stops. You are loved, you are needed, and you have lost the ability to tell those two apart, because for you, they were never separate to begin with. There was never a version of your life where love came first and usefulness followed. They arrived together in the same breath, in the same early lesson, and they've been indistinguishable ever since. This is where the quiet question at midnight comes from. It isn't insecurity. It isn't ingratitude. It's the sound of a person who has never once in their whole life been in a position to know. Because to know, really know. Whether you're loved for yourself, you would have to stop being useful long enough to find out. You'd have to go silent. Ask for something. Give nothing back for a while and watch who stays. And that is the one experiment you were built never to run. Because running it feels exactly like standing at the edge of the cold you spent your whole childhood learning to avoid. Picture a man at a kitchen table, late, long after the others have gone to sleep. There are 2 coffee cups in front of him. One is his. The other belonged to someone who left hours ago. He hasn't cleared it yet. He's still sitting in the shape of a conversation that's over. He was, as always, the one who listened. He asked the good questions. He carried the weight of it so the other person could set theirs down and go home lighter. And now, the house is quiet, and he notices something he tries not to notice. No one asked him how he was. Not once. The whole evening moved in one direction, the way it always does, the way water moves downhill. And he was the low place everything flowed toward, and nothing flowed back from. And what unsettles him isn't that they didn't ask. It's that he never expected them to. He built a room where his own needs simply don't have a chair. He picks up the second cup finally to carry it to the sink, and he catches himself halfway to standing, doing the thing he always does. Already composing how he'll ask about them tomorrow, already rehearsing his own warmth, already gone from his own evening and into the service of the next one. He isn't angry about this. He's too tired to be angry. He just sits back down with the cup still in his hand, in the particular loneliness of a person who is surrounded by people who need him and is not sure a single one of them sees him. You don't actually know if you're loved. You just know you're needed. Say it slowly, because you've spent a lifetime arranging things so you'd never have to. You do not know if you are loved. Not whether people are fond of you, they are. Not whether they'd say kind things at your funeral, they would. But whether, underneath all of it, stripped of everything you provide, there's a version of you that someone wants, simply because it exists. That you do not know. You have never known. And the not knowing has been sitting in you so long you mistook it for the ordinary weather of being alive. Not because the people around you are cruel. Most of them aren't. They take what you give because you give it so freely, so completely, that it never occurs to them there's a cost. And you've made sure it never occurs to them, because letting them see the cost would mean letting them see you need something, and that was never on the table. But because you have never let them meet the version of you that isn't giving anything, you've never gone quiet and stayed quiet. You've never been the one who needs and waited to see who comes. You handed everyone a person who is endlessly, reliably useful, and they responded to that person warmly. And now you have no way of knowing whether the warmth was ever for you or only for what you do. And perhaps the quietest part of it is that you built this yourself, not them. You built the arrangement so carefully, so young, that by the time you were old enough to want to be loved for yourself, you had already made it impossible to find out. You removed the evidence before you ever needed it. Every act of giving was also, without your knowing, an act of hiding. One more layer between the world and the person underneath who just wanted, like everyone wants, to be chosen for no reason at all. And here's the part that has no comfort in it. You can't undo the hiding by confessing it. You can't walk up to the people you love and say, "Here, this is me, the one underneath. Love this one instead," because you don't fully know who that is anymore either. You hid them so well, so early, that they are a stranger to you too. You are looking for evidence of love for a person even you have never quite met. There is no version of this where you get to be sure. That's what the midnight question has been trying to tell you all along. It isn't asking to be answered. It's telling you that an answer was never available to you. This is the moment where you're supposed to be told what to do about it. Set boundaries. Learn to say no. Stop overgiving. Find the people who love the real you. Do the work, and one day you'll rest easy inside a love you finally trust. That's how these things are meant to end, with a door opening. But we're not going to do that here, because down here, none of it quite holds, does it? Setting a boundary won't tell you if you're loved. It will only tell you who leaves when you stop being useful, which is worth knowing. But it isn't the same thing, and it won't give you the certainty you actually ache for. Say you did it. Say you pulled back, went quiet, stopped rushing toward every need in the room. Some people would drift away, and you'd think, "There, that's my answer. They only wanted what I gave." But you'd be wrong, or at least you couldn't know you were right, because people drift for 100 reasons, and the ones who stayed wouldn't prove anything either. Maybe they stayed out of love, maybe out of habit, maybe because they hadn't noticed yet. You would stand in the middle of your own experiment and realize it produces no clean result. It never could. Even if you tried, you would still be a person who cannot fully feel the difference between being needed and being loved. That braid was tied a long time ago. It doesn't come undone because a video told you to pull it. The feeling you're chasing, the simple, unearned certainty that you are loved for nothing you do, may be the hardest feeling to reach for the very people who most need it. Not because it isn't being offered, but because the part of you that would take it in learned a long time ago to stay busy proving instead. And notice how much you want me to be wrong about that. Notice the part of you already reaching for the exception. But surely if I did the work, if I found the right person, if I stayed long enough, because that reaching is the oldest reflex you have. It's the same reflex that built all of this. The belief that if you just do the right thing warmly enough for long enough, you can earn your way into being certain you're loved. That reflex is not going to save you here. It's the very thing being described. So sit here a moment in the thing itself. Not the solution to it. The thing. You are someone who has given their whole life away and does not know, and may never know, whether they were loved for it or only used well. That's not a wound to heal by morning. It's just true. There's something in that. It doesn't have a name yet. It doesn't need one right now. It only asks you to stop looking away from it for once. To let it be as heavy as it actually is. Not to lift the weight. Not to explain it. Not to turn it into a lesson you can be grateful for later. Just to feel how much you've been carrying and how long and how quietly. You don't have to make it mean something yet. You don't have to make it mean anything at all. Maybe you'll clear the second cup tonight. Maybe you'll leave it. Maybe tomorrow you'll pick up the phone before anyone needs anything and say nothing useful at all, just to see how the silence feels on the other end. Maybe you won't. Maybe you're not ready, and maybe ready isn't a thing that arrives on schedule. I'm not going to tell you it gets easier. I don't know if it does. What I know is that the question you've been carrying, whether you were ever loved for yourself, is not a flaw in you. It's the honest cost of a life spent being needed. You can put it down for tonight without answering it. It will still be there in the morning. So will the question. That's all. And maybe that's the only honest place to end. Not with an answer. Not with a plan for the morning. Just with the fact of you, sitting in a quiet house, holding a question you can't put down and can't resolve. And no one else can hold it for you. That's part of what makes it yours. And for now, that's enough. To sit at the table with the cup you haven't cleared and not have to know what it means yet.